All right, folks. So over the past couple of weeks, I've really started to get back into scanning. And I do have a SDS 100, which is a little bit of a higher end digital trunking scanner. And I love it. I use it all the time, and I think it's fantastic. But one of the things I get asked a lot is that can you get into scanning on a budget? What does that look like? And so I wanted to see what budget scanners are out there. And I do want to pick one up and I want to play around with it and see how it goes. Now, when you buy a budget scanner, you're going to compromise on things like the ability to listen to trunked systems and digital systems. And as always, with any scanner, you can't listen to encryption. So just keep those things in mind. But for this particular video, what I wanted to talk about was what are the best budget scanners? And what do I want, or what am I looking for in a budget scanner? And over here, I just listed some of the requirements. And as you can see, I'm not picky and I'm not asking for a whole lot. There are desktop models and there are handheld models. And I want a handheld model because I like to take my scanner portable, move from room to room, sit out on the porch, who knows. So handheld or portable is the first requirement. And I don't want to spend more than $100. And when I say $100, maybe I'm talking 85 to 115, somewhere around in that price range. One of the things that I want to mention is that with scanners, many people buy scanners and they don't have any idea what they're doing. And sometimes you can pay a little extra for the scanner manufacturer, or the scanner retailer, to program the radio for you. And that's a really good idea if you don't know what you're doing. These scanners people are small businesses. They're mom and pop shops. And when you buy a scanner and you can't figure out what you're doing and you return it, and when you send that scanner back, what you're doing is causing a little bit of a problem because the scanner's not really broken. It's that you weren't able to figure it out. And when you go to their websites, they tell you the biggest reason for returns are people don't know how to program their scanner. So what we want to do is we make sure we get one that is easy to use. That's actually point 3 here. Something easy to program, and whatever we buy, we'll do a video on how to manually program it, and we will do a video on how to program it using the computer if computer software is available for the radio that we choose. And then I put can buy new. Now you can buy a used scanner. I don't have any problem with anybody doing that, of course. But for the sake of this, if anybody wants to play along with any of the videos that we're going to make, I wanted to make it so you could buy new. Now put new in quotes because when we talked about the test budget, and target budget, I think I got off on a little bit of a tangent here. You can buy many of these scanners for 15 to 20% off because of so many of them being sent back to the retailer. You can buy them as an open box. So they're still like new, but they're not exactly new. All right, well, let's dive in and take a look and see what scanners we're going to take a look at. All right, so the first scanner that I'm going to look at is the Whistler WS1010. And I wanted to mention there's not a whole lot of scanners that are handheld around the $100 range. So we're only going to take a look at 4 of them. This particular scanner retails for about $85, $84.99 is what I saw. Just running through some of the specs, and we're going to look at a spec table towards the end that compares all the different scanners that we take a look at. It's 200 channels spread across 10 banks. So that would be 10 banks of 20 channels giving you 200 channels, which is pretty nice. It is computer programmable, which is super handy. So you can program this from the front panel as well as from software. Now, typically what folks do is they go to an online database like Radio Reference, and they're able to get the frequencies to their local area and either export them or cut and paste them into the computer software and then add them to the scanner, which makes your bulk programming easy. But again, if you don't have experience with that, or if you don't have a computer, for example, these all require Windows. Maybe you do get the vendor to help you out with that. I did want to mention that none of the radios that we're looking at have 800 megahertz bands. They typically go from around 27, 28, 29 megahertz, all the way up to around 440, so you can get some ham radio bands. Actually, I think most of them go up to 512. As a matter of fact, they all go up to 512. This radio was first available in February of 2014. Now, that sounds like an old radio, but that's actually pretty new in terms of relative terms. And I wanted to mention that some of the key features here are priority channel. They have what's called object-oriented programming, which is supposed to make programming this thing simpler. I'm not really sure if I understand that or know exactly what that means, but we'll figure it out when the time comes. Now, this is the Uniden BC75XLT, BC meaning Bearcat. So Bearcat was a radio company that was acquired by Uniden, at least that's how I understand it. And this is a very, very popular scanner, and it comes highly recommended. When anytime you talk to a scanning enthusiast, this seems to be one of the ones that come up. We'll jump a little bit further down on my spec sheet that I have here, that this radio first became available in 2004. So that makes this the oldest radio. Now, one of the things is that I don't believe that this radio is currently manufactured, but I saw plenty of opportunities to buy this in either new condition, meaning that it was new in box that just was never opened or sold, or it was a return or refurbish, so it's like new. So I did include that here, just given its popularity. The lowest price I saw it for was $109. And that actually makes it the most expensive scanner on the list. It has 300 channels across 10 banks, so there would be 30 channels per bank. It is computer programmable, and it has a wider frequency range than the Whistler 1010. And I believe the frequency range is similar to the other ones that we are going to look at. Some of the key features: priority channel. It has something called priority scan. So when you're scanning your 200 channels, you can pick 10 channels, for example, and say, hey, these are the ones I want priority scanned. So it checks them with more frequency or regularity during the scanning process. It has a low battery alert. It has something called close call. All the Uniden scanners that we're going to take a look at has something called close call. And that's when you're scanning your predetermined frequencies or your pre-programmed frequencies. It'll actually take a look and scan for other frequencies in your local area, and will stop on any strong signals that it picks up. And the close call feature is pretty it's pretty cool. It's a little bit complex to somebody who's new to scanning, so we'll probably talk about that in a separate video. And it also has something called search service bands or service search bands. And that's where you take designated bands of frequencies for things like railroad, for example. So if you are a foamer or a rail fan, I'm not sure what the politically correct nomenclature is for a train enthusiast, but you can just go ahead and you can set the radio to scan specifically railroading frequencies. And it'll do that, and then it will lock on any signals that it hears. It has 10 different search service bands, so marine bands are another one, a marine frequency. So that's actually very cool. And this radio has U.S. and Canadian band plans. So depending upon where you're located, or maybe you're going on vacation and you take the radio with you, you can change that. So this radio is the Uniden SR30C, and this is the replacement radio for the BC75XLT. And this is a very popular radio, very nice radio. It had tons of positive reviews when I took a look at it. You can buy this new for $102 on Amazon Prime. It has 500 channels, and that would be 50 channels spread across 10 banks, which is pretty cool. It has computer programming capabilities like the other one. Exact same frequency band as the BC75XLT. Again, no 800 megahertz on any of these. This radio first became available in June 2019, which makes it the newest radio of the ones that we're going to look at. And when I say radio, I'm also meaning scanner, because scanners are radios. They're just receive only, as opposed to receive and transmit like an amateur radio or ham radio. And this has the exact same features that we talked about in the last one, the BC75. So personally, if I was going to buy a radio, I think I would pick this before the 75. It's actually $7 cheaper, and it's newer, and it seems like it has almost like-for-like features. So I think that this is the one that I would pick if it was between those two. So let's take a look and see what we have last on our list. So the last one we have on the list is a Uniden BC125ET, and I like this one. I'm just going to maybe provide a spoiler here. This is probably the one that we'll be ordering. So when you take a look at this radio, it is $104, which puts it right in that sweet spot. And again, I took a look and I saw that these being sold open box for $85 all day long. So it's a pretty compelling argument there. It has 500 channels across 10 banks, so 50 channels per bank. And it is computer programmable. And the other thing is that it has a little bit of a wider frequency range than any of the other scanners that we took a look at. One of the things I wanted to mention is that this radio has alphanumeric tagging. So if you take a look over here, I do get that wrong every time, you can see on the screen that you have text as well as numerals. And this is super duper handy because if you have 200 channels, 300 channels, 500 channels, the ability to read them in a written script or language versus channel 001 makes that a lot easier for people like me, and I'm assuming people like you. This radio first became available in August of 2011, and it has all of the features that we mentioned before with the addition of alpha tagging, and so I like it quite a bit. Let's just take a quick look at the data table. You'll be able to cut and paste this data table and use it for your reference in the future if you want, and that way we can do a little bit of a comparison. Also, if you know about a scanner that I don't mention here, go ahead and post about it below. Or if you have a scanner that or one of the ones that I mentioned or one of the ones I don't mention, go ahead and let me know about your experiences below. We haven't made any firm decisions yet, but as I mentioned, this BC125 is looking like the clear leader. So here's the data table, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of me, and some of you are probably happy about that. But here you can see all the different features that I have listed. And they progress in feature set from left to right, with the BC125 being the most feature rich, right in the same price point. So I don't know why you would opt away from that. And I have a hard time understanding why Uniden would actually put the SR30C on the market when the BC125ET is right in that price range with more capability. But, you know, there's people who love older stuff and maybe that design or something about it that they really like. But from everything that you can see here, the likely choice for me is going to be that 125. I want to say thanks for watching, everybody. I truly do appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or recommendations, or experience with any of these or any other scanners, go ahead and post below and I'll do my best to respond. Thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate it.